Oh boy, too close. Hey everybody, it's Kay. Just giving you guys a heads up on this video. We're thrilled to be doing this interview for Blackbird, so that just want to be said right off the bat. But both Juliana and I felt pretty strongly about wanting to let you guys know what's coming. If you're not familiar with this script, the content is a little bit, as we're going to put it, triggering. So I'll let Juliana do most of the talking. In fact, as I'm recording this, I haven't quite seen what she recorded, but I wanted to add to this that she's extremely brave in this video, as far as self-revelation is concerned, and well, first of all, I've always respected and loved her. This is why we're doing this project together. But after this piece, I was originally going to be leaving a good chunk on the editing room floor out of respect for her, but it was her wish that this be included for the interest of forwarding a very important message. So I'm going to cut to Juliana now, and then we'll get to the interview.
Hi, Strange Dears. This is Juliana. Strange But True Dear is a safe space, which is why we're giving you a heads up that the following episode contains content which could be triggering for some viewers or listeners. The play Blackbird deals with themes of pedophilia, abuse, and psychological trauma played forward. And I need to clarify a conversation that happens about midway through the show, which has been edited for time and content. We do not believe that the precipitating events in the play that happen when the character Una is a 12-year-old child and the character Ray is a 40-year-old man lie in any kind of gray area. There certainly is moral ambiguity on the part of both characters 15 years later in the present, as they are each grappling with the truth of the past and are trying to twist their mutual confusion, anger, and lack of closure into something new. But we do not believe that there is any kind of gray area in the matter of consent, or when we're talking about a sexual relationship with a person who has not yet reached the age of consent, whether or not that sexual act was against the person's will, or if the victim fought back. The age of consent in the UK is 16, and has been 16 since the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 1885. Consent is a large part of this conversation, and is also a large part of the Me Too and Time's Up movements that are on our minds today. The harassers, the catcallers, the gropers, the pedophiles, the rapist. Their abuse all has one thing in common that changes their victims forever: the lack of legitimate consent. The conversation isn't over. Join us for conversation with friends of the show, the off-Broadway cast of Blackbird.
This is the only one that's talking.
Is it going?
It is going, and we're both here, and that got awkward.
I know, I can't see myself.
Well, hey guys, so we are doing a kind of new venture for us that we want to make a regular feature, doing sit-down interviews with theatrical professionals. And Juliana is particularly excited to go into the interview portion of this, and so mostly she's going to be driving today. But I'm here, of course, and we're talking, who are we talking to today? Because this camera can't see them. So it's a reveal.
Oh, got it. Today, oh Jesus. Okay, today we are speaking with Nick Pascarella and Gina Sarno, who are starring off-Broadway in the production of Blackbird. I know Nick from working together kind of recently. Within the past year, we worked on Oleana together. And for this production, you're not just starring in it, but you're also taking a lot of behind-the-scenes roles.
Yes.
Work. Yes, work.
Hats.
Yeah. You're a rock star.
Well,
In theater.
In a few ways.
In a few ways, because you have a little bit of history being a rock star, a real life rock star, right?
well, on a local level,
Yeah.
you might say. Never on a national
He's big in
level,
Japan.
which is why I'm not anymore.
Oh.
Because you gotta eat, but aside from
So
that.
you're a drummer.
Yes.
Yeah. When was the last time you played with your band?
It's been a long time since I played with the band, and that's probably one of the reasons that motivated me to get into theater. Because I think it was, I played professionally for 12 years. But I started when I was 4 years old and stopped. Basically, family obligations.
Be an adult.
Exactly. Put food on the table.
Yeah.
So there was a gap of many years, but you know, when you're artist, creative artist, performer, when you do it, you know, you just find another outlet. And I kind of stumbled into acting, and I like the hours better, and it's a lot. As a drummer, I carry a lot less stuff around with me. I just got to worry about my costume, and so I've kind of taken it, my love of theater to a whole nother level than what I had in music.
And I met Nick with a sort of play that was a bit of a merge of those worlds, because on Sideman you were like so real world musician who's acting, who's playing a musician.
Exactly.
So we inceptioned him a little.
Inception. I like it.
We got some good stories on Sideman. That was
Yes,
for
we
sure.
do. Boy, do we have some Sideman stories. But on that, I was working tech. So you've had the experience of working with Nick on stage.
Yeah, we worked together on stage, doing David Mamet. And that was not your first David Mamet piece.
No, no, it wasn't. I kind of, I really like David Mamet. Probably because I normally speak like he writes, so it's very easy for me.
Yeah.
I'm the post-production team. If those words come out tonight, I have a fine array of sound effects to cover you.
But I do love Mamet. I mean, working with you was an incredible experience. In fact, it was because of that ultimately led to me getting this.
Yeah.
It's because this play is very Mamet-esque, if you will.
Yes.
And it's basically just raising what we did as far as what my character did, and only on it to just another level. So, you know, it was kind of like a stepping stone up, if you will.
Gina, you're an actress. What were you doing before Blackbird came into your world?
So I was pretty much just working and
like day job working.
Yeah, day job working. And
what was your day job? Can you share with us?
I don't know if I will. Well,
just give us like the industry.
Stripper.
Oh, perfect.
No, I'm just
She bought it. She totally bought it.
Hey, you were in a judgment-free zone.
First rule of improv: say yes. And
yes, and go
no, I work for Marvel Entertainment.
I've heard of such a
small
thing.
startup.
Yeah, a little,
small startup.
It may have a future in the entertainment business.
So I was doing that, but I was, you know, seeing a lot of community theater, Broadway shows, and just like missing acting. It was like 2 years that I had done nothing, and I started acting when I was 9, and I did a play or more than one play or musical every single year of my life, and then I got engaged and had to plan a wedding, and 2 years went by, and I was like, what have I done?
My heart feels you. I've just started to get back on stage after 5 years away. Now, I was working in puppeteering, so I was still, you know, working the craft, but it's like that part of your soul that's not on the stage anymore, you go, I feel you.
Yeah. It is really difficult to work with Nick, right?
It's
Here it goes. Do you hear the bus coming, Nick? We're throwing you.
I've tried to get him fired several times. No, it's wonderful.
From my experience doing Oleana, which is similar circumstances in many ways. So for one, you know, just logistically, a two-person play is, you know, it's like learning a foreign language. You kind of have to learn how to learn the foreign language. You have to learn how to study for it. So it's an animal to be, like, have the responsibility of just two people on the stage. And if you're trapped in a rehearsal life with a person who's not great to work with, it can become a nightmare. But Nick was wonderful just as a colleague for me, right? It makes it a lot easier to do the work of an actor when you're working with decent humans, good people, which is what I found Nick to be. Just a good person. Besides a great actor, which obviously you have to be to approach the material anyway. But
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nick Pascarella.
Yes, honey. Yes. Can you put the layer of flowers? We have a brandy.
Here's your life. This is your life. Here comes the band.
I'm just sitting here taking it in.
It's so true though, because I did an interview for the Nutley Journal, and they had asked like how we went about rehearsals and stuff because of the material being so the subject matter is so heavy, and I said it's because it helps that we laugh. Like, you have to laugh during rehearsals, but also like I was so comfortable with him. We had done a show before prior to this, We did Born Yesterday here a few years ago.
I love Born Yesterday.
Yes.
I love you were in it?
I was a very small. I was like the maid or something.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, manager / maid.
Yes.
So,
oh my god.
yeah, we knew each other from then, but just
Okay.
like, you know, this is a whole nother
Oh my
ball
gosh.
game.
Slightly different from doing manicure.
Slightly
so much.
different, you know. So, but I was so comfortable with him from the beginning, and that really helped.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, the dialogue is not the easiest.
So what is your routine for learning the dialogue and approaching something like this?
I'm going to let you take this one, because he actually taught me something amazing.
Well, you know, and there was a lot of similarities to what you and I did.
Yeah.
A lot of, several times on the phone when we couldn't get together running lines and running them quite a bit.
Okay,
as-
explain that, because a lot of our audience are actors, and I found this technique really useful too. So tell us.
So yeah, what we did, the first day we got together, we recorded the piece. We broke it up into sections that the director had spaced out what they were going to do. So we recorded it in those sections, and I said, you know, this is what I do. I record it, and if it's by myself, I'll change my voice for the other character. But fortunately, I didn't have to do that. And then I don't worry about you know, whether or not I change how I'm going to deliver it when we do it. But just to get over and over and over again, because that's how I used to learn songs when I was in the band. You just
Rote memory.
repeat,
Yeah.
repeat, and we did that, and then just started breaking it down. The director worked on a lot of delivery stuff with us when we would break it down.
Yeah. Director is Alex.
Alexa, yeah.
Yeah.
He you know, would spend time on what he wanted to see in terms of what his vision was. So a lot of what we did, aside from initially getting off book, and then once it did, the characters evolved. I mean, I you know, we kind of did our character development either through rehearsal as it evolved, or I don't know what you might have done on your own time. You know me, I kind of, I don't do a lot of backstory if you remember our conversation. So I kind of go, okay, this is what I think he's thinking at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna act accordingly, because you know.
FYI, that is backstory.
Yeah, well, I know. But
I mean,
You're doing it without knowing it.
I don't know. You know, I
you're
can
just
tell
not
you
making
what
a
they
big deal
did.
about it. You're not writing in a spiral notebook.
Yeah,
You're
no,
not
I
knocking it out of the same.
If I
He's
did-
not being academic.
It would be in
Yeah.
the third person if I did. I make that mistake all the time. Like, here's what I think he was thinking. That's not backstory.
You,
I know.
you're doing. Yeah, but awesome. So you know, we've been recording in here, and sometimes Kay and I will sit here to do our makeup, and we've been looking at this for months and months and months. So when you see the poster for your show, how do you feel?
It still hasn't hit me yet. It really hasn't. It's cool. It looks cool, but it's just crazy that I just keep thinking, you know, this all started with my friend telling me about the play, and I couldn't see it when it was on Broadway, and then I read it and brought it to Nutley Little Theater, and now we're heading off Broadway, and it still has not hit me that. And I'll sit at like production meetings, and I was telling my friends this and my husband that, like, I'll sit there and like listen and watch everyone talking, and I'm like, they all are doing work to get this thing going, and it's unreal.
Yeah, but don't let her fool you, because she's definitely pulling your weight. She may not be the one vocally at those meetings, but she's definitely played a major role in bringing us to where we are today with the appeals and the people she's reaching out for. So she's a very humble and modest individual that doesn't kind of speak to herself ever, but she does a lot more than she lets on by far. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the efforts that you know, she's put forward.
Well, you too.
This is your life. And now we have more friends coming in. Marvel's here.
So when you first read the play and you realized that you, as an actress, wanted to tell this story, did you see it going any further than Nutley Little Theaters?
I had hoped, but I didn't think it was really going to.
Yeah.
You know, so but it just, the whole play just kind of hit me, because when my friend had told me to go see it, and then I got it and read it.
And this is just last year or the year before last, right?
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I believe. She didn't even know what it was about going into it. Honestly, she went to see it because of the two
Michelle
names.
Williams, yeah.
And Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, you need to read this or see it. And I read it, and I think I read it like 3 or 4 times in a row, and I had so many questions, and it just spoke to me, and I started doing research to kind of dive into, you know, sexual abuse and child molestation and all of that, not, you know, not great things to be sitting at work listening to podcasts. It was, pretty, but
intense.
When you look back then on how the show came together, what do you see? Did you do everything right? Is there anything you would change just logistically going into this?
Well, when we did it in December, because it was only for 2 weekends, so you're looking at 6 shows. You know, as we all who have been on stage, you know, your first 1 or 2 shows, you're like, just let me hit my lines right, let me hit my mark right, let me hit, you know, that's all you're focused on. And then you start exploring, and with a 2-week run, usually by the time you're ending, it's like, damn,
Now you feel like you're in it,
Now we have a show.
you know, because of this situation that we've been basically living with this since September 23rd. You know, after it was over, we immediately went into looking at the future production. So we've been preparing for that. And I've noticed this time around that when we would have the rehearsals, you know, with the director, with Alex, the little nuances have changed. Like just in delivery of stuff, it's like we're playing more.
Yeah.
And the more we do it, because we still got several more months to do it between rehearsal and actually going to New York, it's now starting to be fun, because unlike many people in community theater, even with the community theaters that have 4-week runs, it's still 4 weeks and it's done. You know, it's 12 shows and it's over. Maybe 16 if you're lucky, depending where you are. You know, this is over months, and it's giving us an opportunity to really just play and change things up, and in terms of how you might deliver a line, or you know, how you might just react to a line, or it's kind of cool.
I put it kind of like in that more living in it and breathing with it, and you're less concerned about like the mechanics of it, and you can really it's in you now in a very real way.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But despite that, I still don't know how one-way actors can do a show like this 8 times a week. Emotionally,
Keep it.
and just keep doing it and doing it. I mean, we did the 1 matinee and an evening on our closing day, and I got to tell you, at least for me, when that show was over at night, I felt like I was like you feel when you went to a wake for 2 days in the funeral. I was just like,
and done.
I mean, I barely was able, even the evening show, to bring it to the level it was in the day, with a couple of hours in between, because it's emotionally intense.
Even one of my friends, one of my coworkers came to see the show from Marvel, and she came up to me and she was like, because after the show she was like, wow, I have so many questions, and we got into a discussion, but then when she saw me at work, she came up to me and she was like, I was thinking about something, and I was like, what? And she said, how have you been living this for all of these months? And I'm like, well, it's theater. And she's like, no, but that's really dark and intense. And I'm like, and I thought about it. I'm like, you just have to do it.
Do you have any tools for cool down for coming out of that space?
I guess I'm one of those actors who I just leave it on the stage. When I walk off the stage, it's like I'm no longer the character. It's there. I did it. Done. And I know that's not how everyone is. So anyone who is like that, power to you.
Shake it out. Yeah.
Wow.
So the play Blackbird, in 2006 it takes the Olivier Award for Best Play. In 2016 it gets nominated, 3 nominations, Tony nominations.
Whole cast.
Yeah. So where do you see the genius? What's award worthy about the book?
I think it's the writing, David Harrower's writing, that it's such a taboo topic that nobody really wants to even go near.
You dance around it. Yeah,
Yes.
you don't go into it. That's not a fire that you run towards necessarily.
Exactly. There's a lot of gray. It's not black or white. So it brings up a lot of questions, and there's lots of arguments that have been had after our talkbacks.
One of the things in the talkbacks that I would start off with all the time was, I'd always ask the audience, I said, all right, so I want to ask you a question. Did you think it was more tragic, wrong, not thinking, but tragic, than dirty? Because my goal was to portray that character as socially inept.
Yeah.
Obviously, because he's 40, what is he doing, even developing a relationship? Because it didn't happen immediately. But he wasn't a pedophile. He wasn't a dirtbag. He wasn't preying on children. He didn't use his head, and you know, but, which is wrong. I mean, you know, if my daughter was 12 and a 40-year-old, that wouldn't be fine.
Yeah.
But that was my goal, was to try to portray that character for empathy at points. And knock on wood, based on audience reaction, in most cases, except the woman with the hat, I was able to accomplish that.
Well,
One with the hat didn't want to hear it.
Well, no, there are people who any attempt to even try to like humanize something that dark, they go, God, no, I can't touch that. It's right or it's wrong, and that's the end of it.
But I think the brilliance, to your point, is because of that grayness, and because of that, you know, sometimes the people's opinion, what it does do is it lends to conversation, which is why we came up with the conversation is not over, because that's what everything today is about. You know, I was speaking to a Broadway producer recently who said it's unfortunate that Jeff Daniels and Michelle Williams aren't doing it now,
Right.
versus then, because she said you're hitting the timing because it's all around us. We hear it every day. I mean, just last week was a coach, it was in Pennsylvania, with the 16-year-old or whatever, that they went to Mexico. Same thing. This is the same thing. I mean, she wasn't, you know, kidnapped. She went voluntarily. They were in love. Went to Mexico. Again, doesn't make it right, but it happens. And then you also had the statistic with people that they know versus.
One of the biggest misconceptions with sexual abuse is that it's done at the hands of a stranger, when in reality 80 to 90% of victims and their families know the perpetrator.
So the play opens, and we just see two people in one enclosed space, more or less, and we don't have any information about who the people are and why they're there. And it's really not until page 18 that we understand why Una is even at Ray's place of work. Just the look of it, what does the set piece and what do the props symbolize for your characters, or for some scenes in the piece?
Well, the garbage for me, because that's where I work, is like if you ever saw Full Metal Jacket, where the guy is like, you know, sitting on the toilet, and the sergeant comes in and he goes, "My life is a..." Well, like, am I edited? Can I say it?
Say it all of it.
Well, it's that's basically symbolizes, you know, where he is.
Yeah.
You know, his life is that. It's, you know, garbage all over the place. You know, he's rebuilt himself, which is his clothes, to a degree, because he still doesn't wear the nice clothes he supposedly wore back then. But, you know, that's it. I mean, those are the props. There are minimal props. Right. It's garbage, a table, 4 chairs, and a set of lockers, and a garbage pail. That is all the props that this play.
Her bag.
Her bag. That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, there's
the
very
short
little.
vest in the back of the.
It really is, which helps in terms of being able to. You know,
That's right. Nick, I was really taken with the journey that your character goes on, because like we were discussing before, this issue is barely touched on, and the idea of making a predator a human is, I would imagine, a very difficult thing to do, not just as an actor but also as the writer. And so I was really taken with your journey. There is a lot of effort on Ray's part the first half of the show, or maybe even most of the play, where he tries to minimize each of his actions and give just maybe like the smallest, most innocent version of it, until Una forces a little bit more, and then also on being coached by the lawyer on what the jury is going to need to hear. What role does due process play
in the play?
Well, you know, a lot of the things Ray did was unintentionally, in some cases, not what would have been a better thing. Like he refers to a couple of occasions when he talks about, you know, when she asked him, "Were you abused?"
Yes,
he said
right.
no.
Right.
And it would have been better if I had been, because that would have been it would have helped my case.
Right.
There's another part where even though he didn't run from her, the fact that he left did help, because even though it was because they crossed paths, it wasn't because he actually walked and ran away.
Yeah.
You know, he refers to the fact that it shows that I knew the seriousness, the awfulness of what I had done,
Yeah.
but that was not his intent.
Right.
You know, I think Ray, going back to what I said earlier about where didn't use his head, but you know, he knew when he walked out, because he says it, I knew it was over, you know, or it was going to happen, is how he puts it, and that means he knew it was over. The fact that he even turned himself into the police, the fact that, I mean, you know, he knew it couldn't continue, but he genuinely loved her, and that's why he was going back. And then he had to build his life again. You know, he changed his name. He had no choice. He met a woman who basically, he intimates, supported him because it was, you know, pretty much right at the beginning. And you know, he's trying to rebuild his life. The play opens, and you know, his whole thing is like, which I'm not sure if it's in the script in any type of stage directions, but you know, my whole focus is like keeping that door open, cracked.
Yes,
you
it
know,
is there in stage directions,
I don't want, you know, I even refer, I don't have to stay in here, like I don't have to answer questions, like, because I don't know why she's there. And it's like, you know, I built what little mound of not so great stuff, but better than nothing that I have. And now you're here, and it's like, is it going to get all ripped away again? As they talk, I think a lot of memories come back. I think, because it turns where, you know, in the beginning, there's a lot of stuttering, there's a lot of, even though the dialogue's written that way, but there's a lot of, like, panic. Where as it evolves, there's not so much, it calms down, especially when he starts asking her, do you remember the codes? There's a turn. And then at the end, it's like, now Ray's in control. You know, it goes from Una to Ray. And that's an incredible dynamic, especially in light of what this character supposedly has done. That you know, at the end, it turns out. And he does the, you know, well, that's the discussion. Does he do?
Yeah.
Does he do the right? Because you don't know. We talked about that many times. You know, does he really go and stay gone?
Well,
Or does or not?
I think part of the brilliance in writing is that it kind of depends on whether or not you believe him all along the way. You know, if we trust him or not, right? Gina, in your mind, does Una get what she's coming for?
Not at all. Not at all. She comes in like ready to lay down and destroy him in a way, but also she still loves him and wants to see him, and in the middle of all this she's like, well, maybe we can work something out, maybe we can be together, and she just unravels and even takes like 10 steps back.
In the play, Ray has been jailed. We talked about this for 3 years, 3 years and 7 months.
7 months.
Yeah, for statutory rape. A question to Una: is that a fair sentence?
Well, for Una, I think she would have rather him not go to jail at all. And she even says that after the trial, she thinks for a split second that maybe he got off and he's going to continue living next door and everything's going to be fine. And then her father tells her, like, no, he's going to jail. She was basically told by everybody that what happened was wrong. And on top of that, she was told that he didn't love her, and that's why he left her, because he got what he wanted and then he left you, and this is what she believed.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like she thinks of it as a sexual crime.
Exactly. Yeah. No. She thinks what happened was fine because it made her feel good, and she felt loved, and she loved, and she just feels but also for 15 years she, like I said, was made to believe that he didn't love her, and
Right.
she probably battled with herself like, no, he did love me, but I have everyone else saying he didn't, so
Right. Can you explain how you prepared to play this woman who has this confusion between pain and desire and abuse and love?
just really just reading the play over and over again and just learning new things, and it helps to play off of Nick and to get that chemistry and to figure out also what his character is all about.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what helped.
Why do you think there is this magnetism to traumatic events, both for the perpetrator and the victim and audience members?
Well, there's several, I think, motivations there. You know, you have some people that when it starts, it's like, you know, you got the perfect underdog story right there, because it's like Ruth Fruna, you know, she got screwed, you know, Ruth, you know, get that guy, and then in the play there's also, well, you know, Ray really, you know, he loved her, and you hope, you know, so then you got that side, and it's an unknown thing. It's like, where is it? You don't know where it's going ever.
Yeah.
You know, you're never in, and when you don't know, that holds the tension on anything.
So is it hard to get your mind around this bond between the abuser and the abused?
At first it was, and like in my research early on, I found myself, you know, listening to these experts speaking about how the abusers groomed their abused, and then I had to stop myself from doing all of this research, because then in rehearsals and talking about the piece, it's like there is that gray area of he didn't groom her. He's not a pedophile. He just made a stupid decision, and they loved each other, and so that kind of.
I'm curious about he's not a pedophile.
You know, to me, a definition of a pedophile is somebody who is specifically going after a child with the intent because they're a child. Mm-hmm. And it may not be limited to a particular child.
You know, though, I have to say I got chills when I read Una's line. You said, "Why aren't you happy? You should be happy," the first thing you said. And I got chills because, you work in New York?
Yeah.
That's the cat call I get all the
Uh-huh.
time.
Smile.
Smile, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then again, that's interpreted, because you're right, there are people that will say it with that intent,
Yeah.
but if you think about it, a scenario,
Yeah.
let's assume it's not Ray.
Yeah.
Let's assume it's Uncle Joe,
Yeah.
who's 60,
Yeah.
and Una's sitting there.
Correct.
That is a comment that Uncle Joe would say,
That's true.
because it's noticing a child who's not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so some people will say, no. That's a hint, and could be.
Yeah.
And others will say,
Or also, you just said he's recognizing a child who's not happy. So there's something there that then he's not recognizing that she's a child, then, right? So, like, my question is, how many times does a 40-year-old have to have sex with a 12-year-old before he's considered a pedophile?
again, by definition, I think everybody can tell where I'm coming from with Ray. He's a jerk, stupid, not a jerk. He's stupid.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. He's just idiot.
Okay.
I don't think.
How many times would a 40-year-old have to have sex with one of your 12-year-old daughters to be considered a pedophile?
Well, the fact that if a 40-year-old was at the barbecue asking you should be happy, and he wasn't Uncle Joe, I
imagine in Nick's world, he'd have a guy.
Yeah.
He'd have a guy for that.
I have a problem with the guys their own age, let alone 40 and I'm looking at the story and trying to have that
Tease out
humanistic
the other side.
You know, to me, it is black and white for me when we talk. It's like pedophile. It's like guilty with an explanation.
Yeah. So Nick,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is Ray a pedophile?
It's guilty with an I don't look at him as a pedophile. I really don't. I look at him as just a socially completely inept man that just genuinely fell in love the wrong way.
And it goes to your kind of like that strict reading you're putting on it of, you know, he didn't fall in love with her because she was 12.
No.
And you're saying, if you look at it from that standpoint, you
And
know.
if we believe him.
Yeah, exactly.
We actually had a discussion thanks to our director Alex, which I didn't realize, and I guess you didn't realize it until he said it, but her name, Una, is one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly she found him. She found him in a photo, and I had a discussion with Alex about had she been looking for him this whole time, and I think, yeah, she's been basically the past 15 years looking for him because she doesn't ever stop thinking about it.
She can't rectify what she was told that he didn't love her.
Exactly. And even, I don't think Una thinks he's a pedophile, but at the same time, when he is denying her in the end, she asks him, am I too old? So there's that switch of maybe they were right, and he doesn't want me, and he didn't love me because now I'm grown up and he doesn't want this.
Yeah. Just like sincerely, and we can cut this.
Okay, no, whatever.
I'm a victim of sexual abuse. First when I was very young, 6 years old, for several months, and then again when I was 12. And victim blaming is actually more a part of my therapy, because the first person I told was my mother, who said, well, you've had a crush on him for years. I see you flirting with him all the time. And it became the story of how I basically seduced my molester. So as I read this, I see the story, the description of Ray's, well, you were older than you seemed, and well, you made me laugh, and well, you were flirting with me always. There's, to me, as a victim, I read that as victim blaming.
Not that yet.
Nick's the most decent person I know. Okay, but this character, you know. So I think that's also, you know, a lot of the audience reaction is going to come just from your particular experience. You know, if your parents or grandparents were married when they were 14 or 15 years old, maybe that will give you a different perspective as well on, well, it's kind of, maybe it's a cultural thing, but just someone who, you know, has experienced what Una has experienced, it's you see Ray's conversation as a little bit more manipulative, and conversation and just way of treating the situation.
And the way people would say, you know, oh, well, she did this or she did that. Well, she was 12 years old. And, you know, saying, well, she seemed mature for her age is something else that would turn somebody off and be like, well, how, you know.
Well, just to clarify,
let me back that up.
in case we do want to edit this in there.
Oh, we're pretty much in edit land right now.
I'm so sorry.
You know,
no, it's okay.
I don't. When I said what I said before,
Yeah.
It wasn't where. Well, listen, man. She she was not the cause of what occurred.
Yeah.
It was an evolving thing, you know, as to how that unfolded. But at 12 years old, and I looked at this, you know, when we do rehearsing, I take my daughter to the bus in the morning and I go by the elementary school in town, and you know, you sometimes forget what is 12. And when I started looking at the kids walking to school with my daughter, I'm like, what is that, like 12? And I'd be like, how did he? So I had a hard time understanding at 40.
How do you let that happen?
But again, as an actor, you know, you try to look into where do you view his head. You know, what was his motivation? What was his intent? What are the signs that you're interpreting that he did? And that's, you know, I looked at it as a little different. because that is the other side of the coin. Where people.
How can we see the show?
The show goes up June 7th. It's it's Thursday through Sunday, 7th through the 10th, and then the 14th through the 17th. Sundays are matinees at 3, and then the Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings are 8.
And we can put links up, but
Absolutely,
for our podcast listeners, is
Yes.
there a website we can send them to?
Yeah, well, tickets are on sale at smarttix.com.
Okay.
Just put Blackbird in the search, it comes up.
Smart TIX.
Yes.
Yes, 2 T's in the middle there. Yeah, Smart TIX.
You know
How do you make that magic happen?
I have Final Cut Pro.
Yes, you
We have a Facebook page, which is Blackbird 2018.
Yeah.
We have an Instagram page, which is Blackbird NYC 2018.
Okay.
We have a website, which is blackbirdproductionsolz.org. We have a GoFundMe site, which is GoFundMe.com, and the conversation is not over with hyphens between the conversation is not over. But if you put that in with Adam,
we could put in the Google machine, Blackbird, the conversation is not over, and maybe get all of this stuff,
yes,
right?
yes, you should be able to. Yes,
Magic of the Google.
Yeah.
it's so we've got a lot of stuff out there.
What?
But the tickets are available right now. Smarttix.com.
Cool.
What if, like, I just inherited like $100,000 from my great grandmother who passed away, and I wanted something to throw money at?
Well, if you wanted to do it as a charitable deduction, you would be able to go to our GoFundMe page.
Yeah.
And get it's Rockland County Welcome Committee is the not-for-profit that got behind this from in the beginning, and said yes, we'll sponsor this project, so that this way any donors do get a
write-off.
a tax deduction.
And this isn't so that you can go buy a Tesla, right?
No, not at all. We're only once the goal of the production funds are reached, we're done. But
Yeah. But like this is an expensive undertaking.
Yes,
Yeah,
being a show off-Broadway comes with a lot of things that you don't need to do in community theater.
Price
Yeah.
tag.
Basically.
And a very teeny tiny production team, right?
Correct. And we've done a lot to like shave costs where we can. The other way is also we have advertising for people that want to get opportunities in the playbill. As well as and I got this again, the support we're getting from experts.
If I
in
want to
other
put an
areas.
ad for my Tesla distribution company,
What is with the Tesla?
who would I contact? What do I do? What do I do
You
for
can
that?
you could either contact Gina or I, or you could send an email to blackbird2018@novomni.com, which is an email that all the production people get, and that's where the artwork gets sent, and we have forms.
Can you spell that email address for us?
Yes, it's Blackbird2018, just like it sounds. Novomni is NOVOMNI.
Okay.
.com. The project is $47,000 is the goal to go 4 weeks.
Got it.
We're definitely committed, booked for 2. The theater, the American Theater of Actors, where it's going to be housed, was great for a number of reasons. One, their setup was perfect in terms of we could throw a chair against the wall, we weren't going to mess up their floor, and also the director of the theater, James Jennings, was just phenomenal. I had done 2 shows there previously over the last 4 years, so I knew him. We approached him, and most theaters in New York would not do this, where we had to put the deposit down to definitely reserve the date.
Yeah.
So we did. And once that was done, we knew we were locked in for 2 weeks. And then I asked him when we met him, I'm like, so, because Gina and I went to do that, I'm like, so James, because I had to ask the question, so when do you have to know about like the 3rd and 4th week? Like waiting for him to go, well, I need to know.
Now,
You don't have to pay me till then, but I need to know. And he goes, listen, I need to know by May 1st.
Nice.
He goes, and if you're going to keep it at 2, that's fine. If you only can go 3, then that's fine. Nobody would do that. We also just found another not-for-profit is jumping on the project that deal with sex trafficking. As a matter of fact, with the performances, another unique twist is, unlike all other plays, every single play or show is going to have a talkback.
Amazing.
Every one. The show itself runs an hour and 15 minutes. So we're kind of figuring, we're going to say, this event is going to be a 2 hour and 15-minute event.
Right.
If somebody has to get up for a break in between the show and the talkback, that's fine. And in addition, our goal is to get a guest speaker to be part of the talkback.
Nice.
Not a panel, not a speak to,
Right.
but participate in.
Yeah.
So far, we've lined up, again, the CEO of Durgatry International. They deal with sex trafficking young girls internationally. So we thought, man, that's like home run. They also invited us to participate, which we're going to do, to create a Blackbird team at their walkathon they do every year. It's in Ridgewood at the Duck Pond, where we could raise money for people who sponsor us on the walkathon as another means. And pretty much 90% of the dollars that we raise for our team will go back towards the production. It's incredible. It's as again, like I said before, you get an idea, and you make it a reality. Because back in December, it was like it was like when you get done with a play, you go to a cast party, and you go, we should work together again. And you mean it, but the chances of that happening in many cases are slim.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But when you do, it's like we did it.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting.
Yeah. So Strange Deers, let's do this. Let's help Blackbird sell out their first 2 weeks so that it's a no-brainer to let them go that second week. Everybody get your tickets now. We're going to find out when we're going to go. Maybe we'll have a Strange Deer meetup at that night and occupy Blackbird Strange Deer event.
I'm just wondering if we're going to have a live streaming event where one of us is doing this and the other one's fixing her hair.
Fixing her hair. I did a really good job of this. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Nick.
you so
Thank
much.
you, Gina.
Thank you, Juliana.